I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for Tuesday, December 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. This is being held and transmitted electronically via council chambers located at 39 South Shore Road, Lake Cowichan, BC. I'd like to acknowledge we're joined here tonight on the unceded territories of the Subatsa First Nation. In regards to the agenda, are there any late items? None from staff, none from council. Okay, we'll look for someone to move the approval of the agenda. Councillor Vamaka, seconded by Mayor McGonigal. Call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed for the agenda. We move straight into public input time. So if anyone would like to get up to the podium and speak on anything about the agenda tonight, you have 3 minutes to do so. We just ask you to state your name and push the button.
Do I have to start over? My name is Tracy Mitchell. I live in Lake Cowichan. And recently, as of yesterday, I noticed there was a letter to council on the agenda from Joy McClellan, who I believe lives in Lake Cowichan. I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, this letter, again, is addressing the nurse practitioners building here that we've been talking about. I do believe that Joy McClellan does truly cares about what happens in Lake Cowichan here. But I feel, unfortunately, that with this letter she wrote to council that she is way off base with her accusations, her statements that she has put in the letter, as well as the people that she's involved by name in this letter, namely myself. She's taken things off of a Facebook page that I run, one of the pages in Lake Cowichan, Cowichan Connections. She's taken a piece of that from the and put this in her letter to council as well. So addressing this letter, I first want to say that I am a patient of nurse practitioner SCHAC. There's 600 of us in town approximately clients that she sees. I know that she goes above and beyond with our street people as well, that I have taken to her on an emergency basis. And as well as I know her to be forthright, to be forthcoming, and not to be a fraudulent criminal type of person that was stated in this letter, that she has done misrepresentation of the building down the street, and that people feel that they have been bamboozled. One of the facts, she does have juvenescence wellness. A fact is Botox injections are used for spinal bifida as well as beautifying. Nurse practitioner SCHAC has done that in her clinic. She's also used it for migraine headache therapy and TMA joint therapy. She does IV treatments for locals, as well as she now has a pain management doctor that is full. He can't take any more clients. He is full, which is at no cost to the people of Lake Cowichan. And that is something else that nurse practitioner Stephanie has supplied in that building. As far as being bamboozled, I spoke at the council meeting that she's talking about. Everyone that was at that meeting, I felt, spoke to the positive in nurse practitioner Stephanie's character, as well as it was the understanding that everything that she applied for, everything that she did as far as that building was approved through council, through planning. It was re-looked at again. It's again been approved through council and planning, and she now has her occupancy certificate, and so obviously she has jumped through all the hoops that she needs to jump through. Another fact is, if you actually knew her, you would know that she does not have an arrogant bone in her body and bends over backwards to make sure that she is taking care of her people as well as anyone else in this town that needs her. Another fact is all the fees have been paid, and as far as the building, the inspections, everything else that needs to be paid, and she can actually, Joy can check with the town as far as that's concerned. She's also stated that it's a usury to feather her own nest. There is integrity, honesty, and a genuine interest for locals, which, yes, of course, is paramount. Another fact is every rule and bylaw has been fully fulfilled, including the industrial inspections. Again, she can check with the town on that one. There's a fact that there is 2 parking lots adjacent to this building, so saying that parking is an issue. There's also parking on the street. Joy has mentioned the fence in her letter, and that it could be a blind spot. But you actually have quite a bit of room to come out of that parking lot, and you can see both ways before you enter that street. She stated that safety standards are not being adhered to, that fraud has been committed, that nurse practitioner Stephanie is being deceitful and deceptive. I know as a fact that this has not been proven, or is it being investigated, or there would be a police file attached to her building and her name, which does not exist. I'm wondering what the agenda is for this letter. Okay. I'm wondering what the agenda is for this letter. These statements are defamatory and not proven, and I would like to see someone like our town planner, John, step up at the council and actually protect our one healthcare provider that is trying to do whatever she can for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public input tonight? No. Okay, moving along, we've got business arising, unfinished business. We've got the 2026 meeting schedule. Mr. Thomas, would you like to speak on that? Or is it just for information?
It's for information. I think there is one change we have made, which is, I believe, moving the meeting from what would have been December 22nd to December 15th due to scheduling requirements.
Mayor McGonigal.
And just for clarity, we need to approve this to have it put up for next year's meeting schedule, so that's why it's here. If there is anything on here that you feel needs amended, now would be the time to do it. I did chat with our executive secretary on the moving of the 22nd meeting of December next year for whoever is at this table. I don't think you want to meet 3 days before Christmas. Probably men have to go shopping that day.
Get the shopping in early, you mean?
So we do need approval of this, but if there's any amendments, please make them now.
And are you moving this schedule?
I will if there are no amendments. I'll move the approval of the schedule.
Councillor Austin, second. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Moving on to correspondence, we've got a nice letter from, Yep.
When we get to item F of correspondence, I'll be recusing myself.
Thank you for that. First letter of correspondence is a nice letter from the Legion thanking us for the crosswalk. Looks great. Thank you for that to Public Works. B, we have a letter from our sister city. The delegation from Japan will be visiting Lake Couch on October 11th to the 15th, 2026. I believe we'll file that for information. Then we have a letter from the city of Pitt Meadows. So there's a couple of letters included in this correspondence about Bill M216 and the 2025 Professional Reliance Act. Would anyone like to speak on that, or we file it for information? Mayor McGonigal.
I'll move receipt and file of all correspondence.
Well, you don't want to talk about it, of all correspondence. Would anyone like to second that? Seconded by Councillor Wamaka. Would you like me to run through the rest of the correspondence, or would you like to?
I believe they've been published and they're on the website. So if there's a need for them to be pulled, if someone wants one of these pulled, this will be the time to do it if you want to discuss one of these correspondence items. Otherwise, they have been published. We have read them. We know what resides within this correspondence. If there's no action needed, I think we just receive and file.
I'm going to state the remaining three. So there's the repurposing of Cowichan District Hospital. So that's a letter that Mayor McGonigal is involved with, that is saying that we need to repurpose the old Cowichan District Hospital for mental health and drug addiction. Then we have another letter from the Municipal Insurance Association of BC, also talking about Bill M216. And then the last correspondence we have is from Joy McLennan, a concerned citizen, about the nurse practitioner medical clinic. Any further discussion on these? There's a motion on the floor to file these, so I will call that question. All those in favour? That motion has passed. Move on to reports. So the first one we have building permit summary from our development department. I don't believe there's any call for actions. The committee recommends acceptance. So I'll go through this. There's a recommendation that the committee recommend acceptance of the building permit summary report for the month of November 2025. Would anyone like to motion that? Sorry. After me. Councillor Vamaka, seconded by Councillor Sandu. Discussion, Mr. Thomas? Sorry.
Thanks, Councillor. I just want to elaborate on the statistics because it doesn't provide a full picture of what's been going on, and starting in the new year, we'll revise the building permit statistics so you provide a bigger picture. Because, so on there, it would appear that we have, the town has issued 18 permits for single-family dwellings. And just the way that permits have been issued up to recent times, there's a bit of a shortfall that isn't really reflected. The values of construction remain the same. However, the total number of building permits for residential units that have been issued, or the total number of dwelling units that have been permitted over the course of the year is a total of 31 units. So we've issued 12 for single-family dwellings. There's 8 units that are duplex, so there's 4 duplex buildings, each with 2 units, so 8 units. And then we have 4 single-family dwellings with suites, so then another 8 units, and then 1 triplex building for 3 units there. So just to provide you with more information that we're actually doing more construction than might be reflected there.
And could you just help me with why that's not reflected in this chart? Like, how does that work?
It's just the way that up until recently, we've been issuing 1 building permit per unit, per building. So for a triplex, for example, in the past, the triplex would have been 1 building permit as opposed to 3. So now we'll be moving forward, we're issuing 1 building permit per unit.
Mayor McGonigal?
And I think an updated showing the number of units would help us with the province showing our housing needs assessment targets and how we're accommodating them. If you look here, we've not met those targets, but with the number of units, including suites, triplexes, duplexes, perhaps we're closer than we had anticipated in the past.
There's a motion on the floor to accept this as information only. I'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Next up, we have the Fire Department report for November 2025. There's a recommendation that the Committee of the Whole recommends to Council that this staff report be received in the amount of $11,006.39 be approved as presented. Would anyone like to move that? Councillor Sandu, seconded by Councillor Austin. Any discussion on that? No. Then I'll call the question. All those in favour? It has passed. Next up, we have the Fire Department Fire Underwriters Survey for the town of Lake Cowichan. Would anyone on staff like to speak on this, or is this for information only?
It is for information only, but it's important for council to be aware of what the community's rated as from the fire underwriter survey, which has a direct impact on insurance premiums in the community. And for the record, the fire hall designation is maintained the same.
Thank you for that. And McGonigal.
I think this will come in handy coming into the long-term unit replacement, what the designation is with the fire underwriters. Unfortunately, they have a timeline on certain apparatus, no matter the kilometers, et cetera. 25 years for some, 30 years for another. Going past that, you can initiate an inspection and have an extension for that period. But after 25 years, usually it's time for a capital replacement. So this will come in handy in the event of those processes coming forward.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion on the underwriter survey? No, we'll move along. Next up, we have planning zoning bylaw amendment R3 zone setbacks. Ms. Reynolds, would you like to speak on that?
Yes, please. So this is a zoning amendment that was directed by council to consider after a number of variance applications came forward. So it was specifically related to changes to the zoning bylaw that had been made back in 2024, which reduced the setback for the R3 zone district, the front yard setback from 7.5 meters to 6.1 meters to the front face of a garage, and then with to 4.5 meters to the front face of the dwelling unit. So there was a required 1.5 meter separation or setback between the garage and the front face of the dwelling unit. And so what is before you today is a proposed amendment. And the reason why the whole table is there is because it's really hard to just take out one piece, just the way that the bylaw is sort of physically structured, just to take out the one relevant section. So just to confirm that the second table, the relevant section is 5.1.6F, like Frank I. And so it's setbacks. And the amended section is in red print to make it easier to review. And what I did include in there was some of the discussion that came forward at the time of the variance applications, just to provide you or remind you of that background. And I won't get into it today. There were a couple of other minor amendments that were made, but they are not substantive. They're really just for organization in the bylaw, just moving a couple of the sections to make it more relevant, related to not that section, the setback specifically, but to make it a little more easier to read the bylaw itself. So what the proposed amendment is, I'll just remind council, so the direction from council was that staff be directed to provide alternative amendments to the zoning bylaw for consideration by council to allow for the standards for single detached and duplex dwelling units in the traditional urban R3 zone to be similar to the regulations that existed prior to the November 2024 zoning bylaw amendments. And that was a 7.5 meter setback. The proposed amendments, while they're not consistent, they're not going back to what the bylaw was at 7.5 meters. It still allows for a builder, developer, et cetera, to build to that setback if they so choose. What the bylaw does do is to remove that required 1.5 meter separation between the front face of the dwelling unit and the garage front face. It provides an option that if a builder developer wants to use that separation, that they can. So the ultimate setback would be if they want to build both the front face of the garage and the dwelling unit, they can go to 6.1 meters. If they want to move the front face of the dwelling unit further forward, they can do that to the 4.5 meters. So it's an it provides that option. So that's essentially what the amendment is proposing. Oh, and sorry, I may add, and one of the APC had made a recommendation about seeking discussion or seeking input from builders, developers about this option. And so the recommendation in the report is that we not do that, but again, that's up to council. Because again, it still provides the development community to build to the 7.5 meters, and to not require that 1.5 meter differential. So we just leave it to council.
I will move option number 2. We direct staff to prepare and send out notice of first reading for zoning amendment bylaw number 1124 as required by bylaw number 1109. If there's a seconder, I'll speak to it.
That's moved by Mayor McGonigal, seconded by Councillor Vermarker. Mayor McGonigal.
And with that, myself and Councillor Sandu were approached by a number of builders within the community that had lots within the R3 zone, visited construction sites, and saw the anomalies within those amendments and how it would accommodate the build. So we had thought that we would bring it back to staff and see if there was a consideration for returning it somewhat to what it was prior to, and leaving those setbacks in the R3 zone for triplexes and quadplexes. We thought that was important to have that uniformity. Also, with this motion, I think there would be an opportunity for the builders during the first reading to have input on anything that they feel should be or could be accommodated in amendments, and that would be an opportunity for us to utilize that input to make those decisions at that time prior to third reading and adoption. I'll just turn to staff and see if that is correct.
So to clarify, you'd be requesting that notices be sent to the development community? No.
No, but during first reading, they could attend the meeting and
Yes.
have input during the bylaw.
Yes.
And if there are concerns, bring those forward in conversation, and that could be implemented in any amendments going forward.
That's correct. And to confirm, because of the zoning bylaw, the amendment deals with residential uses. It's consistent with the official community plan. There isn't, where Local Government Act prohibits the requirement of a public hearing. So yeah, it would be the opportunity to speak at first reading.
Can I also add, because part of the problem with the first process when these setbacks were removed was that the builders that came into attendance after we'd made this decision thought that the notice of how we're getting that out to the community wasn't, they didn't really notice it. Is there a way to give the ones that you've got recommendations of feedback and send out notifications to those people so that we can kind of get it out to the building community before we go ahead?
Yeah, if that's council's direction, for sure, definitely.
Would I require an amendment to your motion if we want that to happen? Okay, so I'd like to motion amendment that all builders that we have asked for feedback on this setback change be notified of the passing of this motion, or something to that effect. Can you pretty that up a little bit? Thanks.
What we will do in practice, we will send a copy of the bylaw and the date for the first reading to all the developers that are registered in the town of Lake Cowichan, has a business operating here, and ask them to submit written input for the date of the first reading, and they can come and speak to that if they wish, as a delegate.
Sounds good. Mayor McGonigal.
And if I may just add, I think we have clarification of those who have applied for variances within this R3 zone previously. So perhaps that would be the first step to approach them with these changes and go from there. And then reach out to anyone who does accommodate ownership of our 3 lots. Developers.
Just looking for direction. Could this be a direction to staff after this and we don't need to go through this amendment, or would you like to see it in the motion?
It has no material impact. We will do the work anyways, but you could pass the motion as is, and you could have a follow-up one if you'd like.
Okay, so do we have a first and seconder on this? I believe so. Any other discussion? No, I'll call the question. All those in favour of option 2? That motion is passed, I think.
Just to be clear, that's without your
That's without the
verbiage.
amendment. That's right. It wasn't
That would be
seconded.
direction to staff instead of an amendment to that.
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
Clear as mud. Okay, with that, I will move on. Administration holiday closure for the town of Lake Cowichan. Discussion. Mr. Thomas, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, every year, some organizations have closures for the holiday season for staff. I am unaware that the town of Lake Cowichan has a similar policy in place. So we're looking for a little bit of guidance, particularly around January 2nd, is a Friday, I believe. We don't necessarily expect a significant volume happening in the organization, and we're just trying to see if council will be supportive of closing for that date, and perhaps directing staff to come back with a more fulsome policy for holiday closures on a go-forward basis. Again, some organizations do close for the week of Christmas. We don't have a consistent approach to this, to my knowledge.
Ma'am, we've got to go.
I think that's appropriate that we look at a holiday closure policy and bring it back. For this year, I don't see why we would open on a Friday if we had Thursday off. I believe it was past practice not to be closed more than 3 days in a row, just for payment purposes, et cetera, from my recollection. But that doesn't mean to say that we can't have a policy for closing the week of Christmas if that is implemented and endorsed by this body.
So that's a motion for the town office to be closed on Friday, January 2nd.
And I think we have to look at the Christmas calendar too, do we not?
We would love that.
So I'm going to look at it now, and
The 26th is also on a Friday, but I
So
believe
the-
it's a stat holiday.
Christmas Eve is a Wednesday. Thursday, Friday. I would suggest we take the Friday off as well, the 26th, Boxing Day. Most union contracts accommodate that as a stat. So
It is a stat.
there you
Good
go.
Friday.
You might as well have one too. So if we can close on the 26th and January 2nd, 2026 for this year and await the policy coming back. Is that okay?
We are already closed on the 26th. The question will be the 24th and January 2nd.
I think so. So normally on Christmas Eve, we close a few hours early, like New Year's Eve, right? Like 3 o'clock or something? Is it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? No, that's past practice. So since Boxing Day it's not a legal stat, it's still a holiday for some. So it's more just January 2nd. And January 24th, December 24th, oh, good Lord, we close at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., noon o'clock, 12 p.m., okay.
Are you looking for a motion on this? Or?
Okay, I've got
Yeah.
it down now, okay.
Go for it.
So on December 24th, 2025, we'll close the town office at 12 p.m. And on Friday, January 2nd, 2026, we will be closed.
Perfect. Seconded by Councillor Vermarker. We've got discussion. We'll go Councillor Vermarker first and Councillor Austin.
Are we talking just the town office or the town office, the CLEC, and the Public Works?
Great question. It would apply to all divisions within the town. We will have to make provisions for specific operations like water, sewer, continuation, because that's a 24-hour job, but it would apply to the whole organization.
Councillor Austin?
I was just seconding it.
Oh, you're just seconding it? Oh, sorry, I got pipped here. I see. Okay, I will call the question. All those in favour for that motion? That motion is passed. Do we have a clear first and second on that? Okay, we're good. Next up, administration, strategic planning completion, date selection, discussion. Mr. Thomas.
Yes, Council, or Mr. Chair, we're looking for a new date to complete our discussion that we started in November on strategic planning. I think one day will be sufficient, provided that there is focused energy on the discussion.
What do you mean by that, man? And it's a full day, right? Good, good. Okay, can that be done out of meeting with everyone looking at their schedules? Or is someone happy to put a date forward right now? Okay.
So is it January or February you're looking?
The sooner the better.
Okay, here's January. Do we want like a Thursday or a Friday? Does staff have specific?
We're
You'll
pretty
take whatever.
flexible. We have no concern which day, perhaps except a weekend.
Can I put the date forward of Friday, January 9th?
What is that?
In council chambers.
Everyone happy with that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Are we going to motion that? Or we just want direction of staff? Direction of staff. Sounds like January, Friday the 9th is the go for that. Early, 6:30 in the morning.
8:30 a.m.
Next up, we have administration. Letter to the minister, re the Crofton Mill closing, re the future wear operations. Mayor McGonigal, would you like to speak on this?
I can if you wish. With the announcement of Domtar closing the Crofton Mill operations, we thought it was imperative to be proactive and send a letter off to the appropriate authorities, ensuring that the continued operation and maintenance of the Lake Cowichan Weir be insured so as to save the opportunity for another fish kill, for instance. I think what we saw in 2023 is something that could happen again very quickly should there be any deficiencies within water flows. So this is just to be proactive and hopefully have a collaborative approach on how we can ensure that the weir operation continues while Domtar looks at closing Crofton Mill. We have seen in correspondence that Domtar will continue to adhere to all environmental and permit requirements as they shut down. But in the interim, we do need to ensure that that weir remains operational for continued health of the river, for cultural opportunities, for not just here, but all the way down to Cowichan Bay Estuary. I think it's important that we do what we can proactively to get the topic out there for discussion and come up with a solution to the matter.
Councillor Vilmarca?
Question to Mayor McGonigal. Once Domtar closes, where does the responsibility of the weir shift to? Back to the province?
Domtar is the owner of the water license, so until the comptroller of BC reissues that, Domtar continues to hold a water license and would, in my view, would still have to maintain the weir operation as per regulations that have been mandated by the province. But this is why the letter is going out, to ensure that that is adhered to until such time as that water license is relinquished or placed within another entity. I believe Domtar still holds that water license until it's transferred to another entity.
Thank you for that. That is one of the main concerns I know locally for the mill closing down, is that who's going to run the weir. So it's very proactive, which is great.
And please, I want to extend my condolences to all those involved, not only the families who work there, but those operations that require supportive services to Domtar. It's not just Chemainus or the lower Cowichan Valley that's going to be impacted. I think the whole spine up and down the east coast will be impacted by this closure. And it's not just the operation of the weir that we're worried about, it's the livelihood of communities up and down, and the members who, of course, are facing a sad situation so close to Christmas. It's not a very nice thing. I have gone through this in my forestry career a number of times, but it's just another nail in the coffin, so to speak, for the forest industry, which is unfortunate.
I was just going to add that I think with Domtar closing shop, that the licensee regarding the new weir, it's going to come front and center with the province. It's going to have to. So all these letters will help, but they know, they are well aware that a decision is going to have to be made soon.
Thank you for that. We'll file that under information. Next up, we have the finance, November 2025 year to date. Ms. Gill, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, thank you. The statements are attached. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. A couple points of note. I show a table there that shows the Sandy disposal revenues since 2016. It was automated in 2024, as you're aware. The price is $10 per use, and that pricing has been in effect since 2024. So I'm looking for a recommendation to increase the price either to $11, $12, or $14. And you can see on the table there the costs each year are about just over $5,000. So we're netting over $30,000. It's similar revenues in 2024 and 2025. So before we go to that discussion, I just wanted to mention the columbarium sales. We sold 3 in 2025. It's the lowest ever. There's still 28 niches left for sale, and to date, there's 71% sold. But going back to the Sandy disposal revenues, there's four options. The fourth one being no price increase, or the price increases as shown on that table. So it's here for council review, input, and consideration.
Councillor Sandhu.
What was, when we had the honesty policy, what were we charging then?
Originally in 2016, I think it was around $5. It went to $8. But before we implemented the automated system, it was $15.
Oh, so it was 15, okay, thank you.
Councillor Austin.
The niches, how much are you charging for them? Are they different prices? I've forgotten.
Yes, the top row is more expensive. They're all sold. The other rows are just over $2,000.
2,000 for the ones left.
Don't quote me, over 2,000, yeah.
Okay, 2,000 plus. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Vamaka.
I have a question back to the Sandy dump. So now that we've implemented the automated, are we making money? Is it revenue neutral? Or
Yeah,
if we
so
donate?
the table there shows in 2024, the total revenue was $36,735, and the fees, credit card fees associated with collecting those revenues were $5,339. So both in 2024 and 2025, you're making over $31,000.
And so the reasoning then for us increasing would be?
It's if council wants to increase that for more revenue. If we're looking at, I don't know, if we're looking at automating the water as well.
We're going to probably automate the water there, and it generates more revenue for the community, and it's putting costs. We're using the Sandy dump. It's putting costs to our sewer lagoons. It's impact on all our utilities. We have to generate revenue to cover those costs.
Okay, well, that's good for the public to know. Thank you.
Mayor McGonigal.
Thank you for that. Did not know we were going to automate the water system, which I think is necessary, given there is some usage of that there shouldn't be. But when I look at the numbers from the honorary system to automated, I see $16,000 was the most that we had collected within the honor system, and $36,880 this year, with $5,114 in credit card fees. So I see the ROI on that capital project as coming to fruition in a short period of time. If we are accommodating automation of the water within that system as well, I think an increase is needed, because any water in will be SANI out, and there is costs to treat and costs to accommodate treating both the water going in and the effluent going out. So I would be in favor of option 1, a $1 increase, and I will move that.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Vamaka.
With a comment.
With discussion on that, Councillor Vamaka.
I don't want to see it go up so that people will stop using it and release their sewage on the backside roads, et cetera. So I think as long as we do it in small incrementals, then I'm fine with approving it. Thank you.
Councillor Sandhu.
I won't support this. I was more looking at option 2 now, just with knowing what our previous amount was before we were automated. So to me, it's like infrastructure costs are just increasing every day. So to me, I'm not concerned about another dollar. I'm a camper now, so I have a trailer, I dump, so I respect the process of it, and I will pay accordingly. So,
Councillor Austin.
Do we have prices for other communities, what they're charging?
Yeah, I have looked at other communities. They vary, and starting at $8 all the way up to 20, 25.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And through to Mr. Sandhu, I know that we've spoken a lot about how we stop people from dumping for free. Have we looked into that any further? Because I think that $36,000 would increase rapidly if something was done about it.
Yeah, we've looked into different things. I've talked to Sandy Star. They don't have a system where an alarm system or something can be attached to it yet. They're working on it, but at this point, unless we have somebody manning it 24/7, there's no way.
So there's no third party that we could get in, like a security system, that would just have a simple tab that's on a timer. After 10 minutes, it goes off?
Not at this point, no.
I reckon you could.
Sandy Star is working on something, and that's who the system.
But we can't go to a security company and ask if that's what they can do?
I talked to one, and they weren't interested, but we can look into it more.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the table. It's already on the... Okay, I'm going to call the question on option 1, which is to... Option 1 is the committee recommend that the fee to use the sandy dump be increased to $11 for 2026. I will call that question. All those in favour? Against? Motion is voted down. Would someone like to motion option 2? Councillor Sandhu?
I will motion option 2.
Option 2 is seconded by Councillor Austin. The committee recommend that the fee to use the sandy dump be increased to $12 for 2026. Any discussion on that? I'll call the question. All those in favour? All those against? Let the record show that Mayor McGonigal was against that motion. That motion is passed. Is there any other discussion on the financial statement for this month? Councillor Sandhu.
Thank you. Just under the public health unit, the budget is always set at 16.8 for the year. And so the actuals to date is $18,074. So I was just wondering what that increase was.
There was a small rent increase there.
Oh.
And that's what that was.
Okay,
I'll jump in there. Just on income from our investments, I know that we always budget for low, like we budget around 200,000, but we always go well over that with the amount of grant money. In the next budgeting cycle, because at the moment we're looking at a $200,000 difference, which would be a no property increase from last year. Are we looking to be more realistic with that, or are we looking to keep it at 200 and then have the same situation?
Yes, we can look at being more realistic. We didn't do some major capital projects that were put on hold, so that did impact that.
And the decrease from 2024 to 2025 is because we had more grant money in 2024 in holdings? Okay.
And there was a rate decrease.
Yeah. That will decrease next year. Yeah. Okay. If I got another one, I think it's the first time I've noticed that, maybe it's been the whole time, but the next gen 911 expense. Could I ask a question about the next gen 911 expense? It's like over $20,000 that wasn't budgeted for. Was that something that has been spoken about?
It's grant money. The grant money hasn't come in yet.
So the expense is showing, but the income isn't. Okay, thank you.
It's not showing yet. That's correct.
Anyone else? Madam McGonigal?
Just to clarify, that was a transition from the previous 911 to the next generation 911, and there was significant costs in implementing that throughout the call system. So that was distributed throughout all communities that partake in the 911 next gen operations.
Anyone else? Last one, Mr. Smith, just with the info centre, so we've seen a 50% increase in visitors to 2,912 people with a cost of $50,000. So currently it costs us $18 per person that walks through the door. After grant money, it's $10 per person. What's your take on that? Is that money well spent, or are we looking to revision that next year?
I guess a simple answer is we're always looking to improve.
I don't like being critical without putting forward recommendations or suggestions, but is this something that we can update the info centre to be more interactive with iPads and things like that, so that it doesn't require so many man hours in the info centre? And we could do something like have a walking info centre where the staff is walking around town with an iPad and a phone and being more interactive with the community and boosting numbers, obviously.
Of course, that's a good suggestion and always a possibility. Over the past few years, we have always been concerned about safety as well with individuals, and that's the only reason that we have two people in the visitor center. Otherwise, we could use one person only, and it would reduce the cost. It's safety, and that's been, I think, the feeling of mayor and council in the past few years as well. But we could always look at something different. Of course, we've investigated in the past having even some sort of touch screen 12 months a year, and dealing with Kenzie Knight from Tourism and Duncan. We've looked at that, and there was some possibility of getting some funding for visitor centers to do that, and that could be another option. So as we're looking at options right now, those are good suggestions, and some of those have been considered.
And with that, with income, have you explored racking fees for anyone wanting to put brochures in? Because I believe we're one of the only info centres that don't charge for racking fees. So usually they start at $100 if you want your brochure in there. Is that something we've looked into for income to offset?
Never looked into it, and most of the centres that I'm aware of get all the brochures in there for free. And in a small community like ours, I think it's a nice service to provide. but that's up to council.
If you're part of their chamber, I believe it's free. But things like standalone Nanaimo Info Centre, you have to pay racking fees. And also those big, you know, how you see the big maps, they also pay to be in the racking fee, the racks, as well as BC
Yeah.
Ferries. But maybe my experience is different to yours.
No, and those are options. We can do that, but I think in the past it was decided that was kind of a service for our community. And, you know, I don't have any problem at all charging our visitors more money. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
The other thing that we've talked about as well is merchandise, selling merchandise in the visitor center, but that's been frowned upon in the past. It doesn't mean that we can't look at the future, and the reasons for that were quite simple. One was that we didn't want to have money on hand at the visitor center, because we could probably sell lots of sweatshirts and T-shirts, same as at the campsite. And John and I have discussed that as well. And we also do not want to compete with some of the local stores. They sell knickknacks and, you know, and some T-shirts, et cetera. So that's why we don't sell anything there. That's the other part of it.
Councillor Vamarka?
Can I ask a question? So that's the budget for the summer students in the visitor center. So now when we unlock the washrooms for tourists to use, is that part of the visitor center budget, or does that go to Public Works? Because even if we close that down, we still have to keep those washrooms open for visitors.
The visitor center staff does not close the washrooms and open them on a normal basis. They have sometimes, but not normally, because they're working in an office, and to have to go and clean washrooms, et cetera, not kind of a real good project as far as I'm concerned.
So anything to do with that washroom, open, closing, cleaning is all coming out of,
It comes out of Public Works and Lakeview Park campsite staff do the work. And the weekends, opening and closing, and night times. Public Works does it in the mornings to make sure they're all clean and ready to go.
okay, thank you.
Anything else on the finance for November? Move along. Finance 2025 Audit Service Plan from MNP. Ms. Gill, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, thank you. So the audit service plan is attached. It covers the risk assessments that MNP looks at, the new reporting requirements, the audit team, the materiality which they've set and indicated in the report, major issues and development summary that they are going to be looking at, their fees. So that's all disclosed here for council. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions on that? Councillor Vamarka?
So it's the fees for 2025 that we're looking at?
Correct.
And had we discussed one time about the possibility of looking into another auditor?
Yeah, it was put out to tender. I think we're in the second year of that 5-year contract with them. So every 5 years, we look at going with somebody else. But MNP has been the lowest the last three times.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Thomas, any comment on this?
The municipal auditors report to council on the performance of the financials of the town by staff. So this is why this report is coming to you. Once the audit work is completed, the final report will come to council, and there would be an in-camera presentation, followed by a public presentation of the results. And again, once council has adopted the audited financial statements, those will become public documents as well. But during this process, they will be interacting with council about the state of the finances of the town.
And we're looking for a motion to go forward with MNP for this year, or is this for information?
Well, council technically has awarded a contract for 5 years. There is no harm in confirming via resolution that council has received this document and is in support or not of the document.
Would anyone like to motion this for receipt?
Move receipt of the MNP service plan.
Anyone like to see that? Councillor Austin, any discussion? We'll call the question. All those in favour? That motion is passed. Any new business? No. Notices of motion? No. Okay, we'll move to question period. So anyone is invited to come up and ask questions about anything on the agenda item tonight. You're limited to 3 minutes, and I would ask that you present those to me as the chair, and we will answer those questions if we can. Any questions tonight? Go for it.
All right, so you'll have to correct me if I'm stepping out of bounds here, but I'm going to try and ask these questions that hopefully we can get answers to regarding the letters from Joy McClellan. I wanted to ask, were all the permits followed and the requirements fulfilled by the applicant to build this building as far as the town's concerned?
That would be something to take up with the CAO and the planner and our bylaw and building inspection. That does not reside within council, so it would reside within staff. That would be a question to our staff.
Okay. So in council's opinion then, did Stephanie Eschak cheat in any way to build this building for her home-based business?
I think what's happened in the circumstances that we've realized there's a policy in place that if someone submits a letter or email to council, then it has to go on the agenda. So this is the first time that I've kind of thought that the correspondence may not be fitting, especially if there's allegations against another person in town. But we have now discovered that the policy is that all correspondence go on the agenda. So although this is in correspondence, I don't think it reflects everyone's opinion on the circumstances around that. Councillor Austin.
People were asked if they had complaints about something to write a letter, and that's probably why the letter was written. So if they have a complaint, we don't tell them what to say or anything. It's up to them. But it's better to have something in writing than just someone phoning you and telling you something.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right, then, so on that same vein, does council feel that it's appropriate to publicly post a letter on town site that is defamatory, that is unfair, that is, I can't even come up with all the words because I'm just so disappointed to see something like that on the agenda? And is it fair to one of our professionals in town, our one and only healthcare professional? And I know we're adding to that, and I know you're attempting to add to it, but do you believe that that's fair, that a letter like that should even be posted?
And I will answer that if you wish. And unfortunately, because of the council procedure bylaw, it is quite clear as to how we run our agendas. If a correspondence item comes in, it is placed within the agenda. Until that policy is amended to something as a council information package, for instance, which is emailed previously to the meeting to members of council, who can then ask for one of them to be rose and brought for an agenda discussion. That is how it has to reside. We do not dictate what people contribute within their correspondence. That would be similar to me asking you not to speak affirmatively to the nurse practitioner. So whatever we do receive, we have to accommodate to place within the agenda as per the current council procedure bylaw. So just to be clear, we're not the author of this. We are the recipient of this. We certainly appreciate the health system that we have within the community, and we know we need more. But when that is residing within our policy, we must adhere to it.
In the past, I'll just add that when we have received letters from concerned citizens, they've been filed to us individually. So it's been put in our docket and we've read them with our past CAO. And now with us actually looking into policies and putting them in place of what was already there, that's why we're seeing it. Not to speak for the rest of the table, but I think I'd like to see some changes to that because, exposes some liability there if you really tee off on someone on those letters. Councillor Austin?
It is called freedom of speech, and it is down to the person that wrote the letter. So but it is freedom of speech.
Okay, that's a little bit of gray. That's a little bit gray. Do you have a law degree? I'm sorry. Do you, like, how do you look at this and define it as freedom
Let's
of?
not
Point
debate,
of
ladies
order.
and gentlemen.
Sorry?
I'm talking to my counselors. Let's not debate. Let's not
Let's- yeah,
debate.
let's
We'll go
not
through the
debate.
chair.
There is some varying opinions at this table on how things should be received and what we receive.
All right. On a professional level, let's put it that way then. I felt that even being on the website is someone's opinion, fair enough. But I felt that it being on our website, that it looks like something that is maybe agreeable, or maybe there's other people on this council that feel the same way, and that it looks like that's being supported by council. So my question was, throughout all of this, is there no way to protect people when something defamatory and not proven is placed on, a letter? And I totally get the whole freedom of information. But freedom of information, there's also, there's guidelines to that when it comes to the law, when it comes to the legality, whether it comes to it's defamatory, or if there's any truth to it. I would like to see more protection. I would like to see an answer from council as far as answering the letter, answering the questions and the statements in this letter. That's what I would like to see. Is there any way that council can answer to that, or the committee, answer to what she's saying in a letter, or anyone saying in a letter? Do you respond to them?
Because the correspondence was filed for information only, then no one was allowed to comment on it. So it was motioned by Mayor McGonigal that this be received just for information. So therefore, there was no discussion on it.
Okay.
And then that motion was passed. So what you're asking is, can we comment on it? And that's no.
Okay.
Just with the way the process went tonight. And I'd say that might have been on purpose. So that's how we'll have to deal with this one.
Okay. Thank you for taking the time to answer my questions. I don't always know the process, and I appreciate your patience with that. I'm learning.
Thank you. Any other questions from the crowd tonight? No phone calls yet? It's been like 3 years. No. Oh, sorry. 2500-749-3239. With that, sorry, Mr. Thomas.
I'd just like to respond to one thing about correspondence to council. I'll use the example of the Legion. We have a letter from the Legion. We have a letter from our sister city in Japan addressed to council. The Legion is just writing to thank council for an action that council did a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. That is not generating from this meeting any action item from council. We run the risk, we staff run the risk of being criticized for censorship or not following proper procedure. If a piece of correspondence come forward addressed to council and we treat it differently than what we're allowed to do according to policy, then we can also be questioned for why did council not receive the correspondence that has been submitted to the organization when we have no lawful authority to treat it differently. And so this is the reason why, under the current council procedure bylaw, the correspondence that has been received was brought forward to council. Council nor staff have the ability to control what a member of the public says. The content of that letter could have been said at that podium. A matter of fact, during August and I believe early September, when this topic was being discussed, a number of people came to that podium and said a number of things, some of which were true, some of which were not true. That video is on the town's YouTube page. This is just a different medium by which the same thing has occurred. But again, we do not have any ability to control what a member of the public says. We are not verifying the accuracy of the information internally, because that has the ability or the potential of us changing correspondence that has been received by the organization. And that puts us in a much more gray and much more legally dubious position than if we bring it forward and council, exercising their lawful authority, exercising their independent discretion, provides direction to the administration if they're going to respond to it or not, and if they are going to respond to it, what the response is going to be. So that is why it is brought forward to the elected officials, as has been requested by the member of the public.
Thank you for that. With that, I'll move on. So we're going to move into in-camera. The reason for that, Section 92 of the Community Charter requires that before a meeting or part of a meeting is closed to the public, the council must state by resolution that the meeting is to be closed, and B, the basis on which the meeting is to be closed falls under the following sections of the Community Charter. S91C, labour relations or other employee relations. S91I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Would someone like to motion that? Councillor Marcus, seconded by Mayor McGonigal. All those in favour to move into camera, that motion is passed. Thank you for everyone in attendance tonight.